Hello again. Today I'm standing halfway between Grey Abbey, which is behind me on the mainland, and if I spin around, out behind me there is South Island and Mid Island, where I was standing the last day I sent you a little message. I couldn't have stood here that day when I was sending you that message because the tide was in and this was all covered in water, but today the tide is out. There's lots of activity in and around this area which is based upon whether the tide is in or out, and lots of activity has to be in time with the tide. Farmers, for example, have to time it correctly to get their animals, their livestock off and on the islands and do their farming activities on there. People walk their dogs, and obviously you don't want to be out here when the tide comes in and get stranded. And also sailing is obviously a big activity on Strangford Lough, and one of our elders has a sailing boat, and he assures me you have to be meticulous with your timing when you're navigating the Narrows, either exiting the loch or coming back into the loch. You've got to really time that well with the tide. And in fact, when I was speaking to you from South Island, I almost didn't time my talk correctly because I was looking over my shoulder and I saw that the little causeway that I had used to get onto the island was slowly being submerged by the tide coming in. But I did get out with dryish feet. But all this tidal movement and the activity around it reminds me a little bit on the work of the Holy Spirit. All the activity has to be in time with the tide, and our Christian lives have to be in step with the Holy Spirit. In Galatians chapter 5, Paul writes, "Since we live by the Spirit, we should keep in step with the Spirit." In step with the Spirit, not lagging behind Him or running ahead of Him. We should be in step with Him, but not only should we be shoulder to shoulder in step with the Spirit, we should only be going where He leads and not trying to go where He is preventing us. And again, Matthew 4 verse 1, we find Jesus Himself being led by the Spirit out into the wilderness to be tempted by Satan, led by the Spirit. Paul then, in Acts 16 verse 6, he was prevented from preaching in Asia by the Holy Spirit. He had somewhere else for him to go, so He prevented him from going there. And I suppose the question that I've asked myself, and a question for you today, is where is the Holy Spirit leading you? And also, where is the Holy Spirit preventing you from going? We should be only in step with the Holy Spirit. So I hope today this has reminded you to be in step, and only in step, going where the Holy Spirit leads you and not going where He doesn't want you to go. And next week, God willing, we're going to take a little bit of a look at something else in the village that will help us to maybe think about how to test the spirits and ensure we're following the right ones. So God bless for today and this week. Take care. Bye.